I'm Dan, and this is 10,000 Hours of Indie, a podcast exploring new music and delving deeper into what goes on in the background of the independent music industry. I'm a musician and music lover and enjoy nothing more than discovering a band I haven't heard. In this first series of more in-depth interviews, I speak to 9 acts from a vast array of musical backgrounds about what it means to be an independent artist. From recording to stage, we talk about their musical processes and the decisions that have shaped them. These interviews are fascinating, and I have certainly learned something from every single one of them. Follow on the socials and email me 10,000indie@gmail.com. Right, welcome Jukio, it's been a while.
Hi.
So I came to know of Jukio Kallio when I discovered an album he had recorded under the name Kozilek. Intense, upbeat electronic which he performed with passion and intensity, and it was one hell of a show. Jukio writes game music and produces his own releases sporadically. Game credits include Fall Guys, Ultimate Knockout, Dave the Diver, along with BAFTA-nominated Minute and award-winning Nuclear Throne, all stolen directly from your website.
Thanks. Yeah, glad I updated my website.
So to start with an easy question, what do you listen to and what are your influences, and are they the same thing?
Well, yeah, I listen to a lot of music as usual, but definitely everything I hear influences me somehow. Lately, I've been listening to, there's been new albums from Bon Iver and Arcade Fire, I think, put out a new album, and Men I Trust. Those are like, just in the last few weeks, I've been listening to a lot of that. But also like electronic music, like Lindström, Torteria, and stuff like that. But yeah, also, yeah, game soundtracks sometimes. Usually just like the nostalgic stuff for me. Like Xenogears or like Zelda soundtracks.
It's easy to get dragged back into what got you into it in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And you can like, after a while when you listen to some soundtrack from your childhood, you can hear like, oh, this is where I got this drum thing or like this melodic thing.
Yeah, my band are terrible for that. I come in with a new riff and they go, well, that's not really a new riff. That's from 1967 and it was done by so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake, here we go again.
Yeah, it's good to be surrounded by music nerds for that.
Yeah. So where do you look for new music? Is it a conscious thing when you're actively seeking out new music, or do you just stumble across it, or do you listen to lots of friends' recommendations? How do you find new sounds?
Well, sadly, a lot of my stuff comes from Spotify right now. I'm trying to avoid all the AI stuff there, and but yeah, sometimes it's when I listen to some artists from there that I know of already, and then it starts to play the radio kind of similar artists that other people listen to, and there sometimes like 1 in 20 songs is like, oh wait, what is this artist? Usually, new music. It's hard nowadays to find new music, like actual interesting music. Mostly it's just like, oh, new album from an artist I already like. Yeah. And then I'm the type, like, I love to listen to a whole album. Like that's my thing. I love to, like, I go for a walk almost every day and just like select an album to listen to on my headphones. And yeah, so it's been a good spring because there's been so many artists that I've and bands that I've been following just releasing new albums.
Yeah, there's a lot of comebacks this year, it looks like.
Yeah.
So have you always been aware of independent music? And if not, at what point did you suddenly realise there was a difference between the mainstream and the independent scene?
I think it was a kind of gradual understanding. I remember when I was a kid, like maybe in, I don't know if it's middle school in English or high school, but like pretty young, and I actually thought that if you want to start a band, you have to have like a degree from some music school and stuff. And then I found some artists like Nirvana or something that just with the sound, they kind of opened up to me that, oh wait, I can do this. Like I can just start a band, and from there, like it's been a long, because that's where I started with music. It's like very long road of kind of figuring out like, oh, okay, what plays on radio is kind of different from what I like to listen, and then like slowly start to gather information from there. I don't know where exactly I started realize like, oh, independent, like actual like music that's released by the artists themselves. Like, of course, when I had my own bands, I was of course playing live shows, and then I realized like, oh wait, these people are just releasing CDs and selling them hand to hand, and that's probably like I didn't understand that, like, oh, this is different from major and different as indie, but like, yeah, I guess that's where I realized that music can be kind of easy when it's independent.
Yeah. Were you conscious that that was the way you wanted to release your music when you realized it was a form of doing things?
Like, it was a long time, even after having a few bands, it was a long time before I kind of, like, of course I was recording demos almost from the beginning, but at that point I think my idea of recording music myself was that it was just a demo for showing off to the, you know, major labels. I didn't know about indie labels, or I didn't know like what's the difference back then, but that was just it. Like, I thought there was some next level that I was gonna go with the demos. But then, as I can't remember what year it was, but it was essentially when I started Kozilek. I started doing electronic music instead of band music, and like I just decided then that this is so, like, I was kind of a punk kid that didn't really understand techno music and dance music. I didn't like to dance or anything, and then kind of as a joke, I started producing electronic music. And because I started that as a kind of a joke, that kind of, I just decided that I'm going to just release every track that I make. And back then, Bandcamp was pretty new. And I was like, oh, Bandcamp, I can just upload it there. And SoundCloud, of course, like I can just upload it there. MySpace was kind of already kind of dying back then. Like it took the kind of the pressure of releasing music when I started as a joke, and then just started releasing it. And then I realized like, oh, I just want to make music and put it out instead of just, you know, trying to perfect the perfect demo for some major label. And I guess I didn't understand it was independent releasing, but that's like, it just went there.
Yeah, it organically happened that way.
Yeah, and of course, like afterwards, because I started releasing so much music, of course, like my friends who were making games started to notice that, and like, oh, do you want to make a soundtrack for this? And from the start, I was always trying to like keep the soundtrack release rights, or whatever they are called in English. Like, even if it was a big project for like a big video game, like an almost major game, I would still retain independent rights to
publishing rights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like release them on my Bandcamp, and so I don't have to ask anybody how to release this.
So moving on to the creative process of you making music, the most basic start is, what is your creative process? Do you get triggered by an idea of something you hear or see, or where does your music start?
Like, I guess it kind of depends on the mood, but I feel like a lot of times I listen to some album and it's just so good that, and I listen it on repeat, and then I'm like, okay, world needs more of this music, or I need more of this music, because I've been listening to this album for so much that I don't want to listen to it anymore. I want more of this style of music. But of course, I know that whatever I do, I'm not trying to copy it. I'm trying, like, I know that if I make something, it's gonna be something that I would make anyway. So it's not really like I'm trying to copy Pariisin Kevät or something, but like, okay, I want this vibe more, and the kind of what it becomes is completely different usually, but it has this kind of this signal to myself, like a personal signal that is like, okay, this is kind of a continuation for whatever album I was listening to.
What I've noticed in particular about your newest album is that you haven't just stuck to one style of electronic music. I mean, I think it's track 3, I think, that really reminds me of prime 1995 Goldie, the drum and bass track you've got on there.
Yeah.
And I was really like, holy shit, this is a great track. I love the whole album, but that particular track really took me back to that time.
Nice. Thank you. Oh yeah, like that latest album. Yes, it's called. But that was really weird. Like the spring came and sun started to come out in Helsinki too, and it was kind of getting warm, not really, but kind of getting warm compared to winter. And then just one week, I was just like listening to this. I can't remember the artist name, Golem with 2 M's, and it sounds like music that's inspired by Nintendo 64 console music or PS1 or PS2 console music, and when people were making games for those consoles, they were like very inspired by, jungle and drum and bass and that kind of vibe. And then, now like 20 years later, new artists are inspired by that. So they're making completely modern music, but like specifically inspired by that was inspired by jungle and drum and bass. And then like I'm listening to that modern version of that. And then I was like, okay, I love this vibe. I need to make this. And I actually make the whole album in a week.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Like Monday, I made one track just to like try it out. Like I wasn't planning on an album, but then on Tuesday, I already had like 5 tracks ready. And then I was like, okay, this is becoming an album.
So you actually recorded the whole thing this year already?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like,
okay.
Essentially in 1 week. And then I took another week to just add a little bit of tweaks and master, and then just made the album art and put it out. This is the great thing about independent releasing, because you can just do that.
And of course, being solo as well, you don't have to take the idea to a band and say, well, let's work through this, and what are you going to add, and what are you going to add, I guess.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We did one track on that week's Saturday with my friend Timo, and that was like, we took a day to just work together, but I told him right away that, okay, this sounds like a track that could fit in the album. If that's okay, I'm just gonna like finish this. So there was like maybe one kind of light comment round with Timo on that track, but basically like I told him right away that I'm gonna like do whatever with this.
Yep. You play multiple instruments because you've been in bands before. Does this make it easier for you to create, as you can have different musical starting points?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Well, I guess just having even one instrument is enough, but that's like my recommendation for new artists, because there's a lot of video game enthusiasts asking like how to start making music, and I'm like always telling them to learn just one instrument, even drums or like whatever, because that kind of, it gives you an outlet of going through ideas live, kind of just on the spot. And that's super important. At least for me, that's super important. Like I can't analyze the things, especially at the beginning of starting a track. It's like if you start to analyze stuff right away, it's not gonna work really well in my production style. But even now, like now I've moved basically in the box. So basically I do everything on my laptop now. I've actually moved into a smaller studio and sold most of my outboard. But even if I'm clicking the MIDI notes on the laptop mouse or whatever, even then I'm like kind of thinking through guitars or sometimes through the keyboard. And yeah, even when programming drums, like because I've played a lot of drums, I'm not a good drummer, but I know like the physics of drums. So that really kind of like makes it, I guess, like the programming doesn't become impossible.
Yeah. So you've got the understanding of how to put it together.
Yeah. And of course, when you have the understanding, then you can start breaking the rules, which is the most fun part.
Yeah. Obviously, writing computer game music is something you do to order. How do you go about finding the happy medium of making something for a specific purpose, but still getting enjoyment out of it at the same time?
That's a good question. It's been on my mind a lot, because I'm the type that I want to do what I want. Like, that's the thing. Like I don't like, and actually there's been like, I've only had I had one project that I had to actually cancel from my side because it was becoming too much. Like I was just a interface to music software for them. So it was like they were just nitpicking a lot about like trying to make me do something that I don't do, essentially.
Yep.
But I've been fortunate that most projects, they really want me for my music, like my style. And it needs a lot of trust from the kind of client or the team that I'm working with. But yeah, the thing is like, it always like the medium kind of the middle road comes with different teams in different ways, but like it needs a lot of communications, of course, at the beginning of the project, like with the team. Like, why do you want me to be on the project? Or like, what's your style of feedback? Or that kind of specific things. But also like, it's hard to know beforehand, but like if the client kind of, the vibe is that they are literally just like, they have too clear of an idea for what the music should be, then it's not really my place to be there. I'm more of a world builder. They have a game or an idea, just let me do my shit, and that's like how you get an even better game. And I don't know, I've been lucky to have that kind of relationships with video games.
Yeah, I think you've just made a similar statement to the first paragraph on your website, that you like to create worlds with sound.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's been on my mind because I'm basically kind of almost recovered from a burnout from like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. Like after kind of slowly starting to get the energy back, like the first thing I wanted to do was just deconstruct why I want to make music, because it was so hard for me to like make anything new because I was so tired. And then like I might never have enough energy to do big things anymore. So why am I making music? Like I need to start really get into the deep end of like, why am I doing this? Because I might not have that many years anymore in me. But like, of course, if you rest, you recover. And now I'm like, okay, I'm going to do everything. But but the thing is, like, I started to deconstruct the why I make music. And one of the things that kind of made sense as an afterthought to my kind of career as a video game composer, and also including all my hobbies that I do outside of the actual work, is that actually music is just a toolbox for me to create worlds. And that's the world creating, like kind of just creating new complete things out of thin air is what I want to do. And I could be, writer, or I could be a video game maker, like a programmer, but music was just the most natural toolbox for me to create those worlds. Of course, I do as a hobby. I make my own games, I write, I do everything. But after I realized that, it was so much easier to kind of understand what I want to do next. For example, I don't really care about releasing singles, like nowadays, like Spotify or whatever. If you want to make it big, you have to release singles constantly. I didn't understand why I didn't want to do that. Like I was doing that, but I didn't know why I was doing that. And then I realized, the world building thing, that's what I want to do. And then I realized, I want to make albums. I want to make video games. Because that's more than just like one song is already a world, but it's not like a big enough world for me to create.
Do you find that despite being in the electronic scene, which is relatively new compared to guitar bands and things like that, you're still quite a traditionalist in the way you do things?
I would say rather that instead of me being the past, just that it's more that I've been trying to understand what I actually want and without like the pressures from the outside. Like if you constantly watch your Spotify numbers or whatever, you will eventually end up in the single releasing treadmill. But then like, I guess like the burnout and everything made it so that I had to, like, my body just said like, okay, you need to stop and think what you actually want to do. And that just happens to be in my specific wants, that happens to be something similar that how the music industry worked before. But yeah, to me, it's not really like, because they did like 30 years ago, because albums were the thing, like that's what I want to do. Instead, it's like, okay, do I want to do singles or albums? Albums.
Yeah, fair enough. What about the differences between writing game music to spec and creating your own compositions? What is the major difference between the two?
Of course, there's the technical things, like, with video game music, usually has to loop. So you need to compose it in a way that it naturally flows into it, almost like hides where the loop happens. And of course, you can do interactive stuff with layers, like drums being off at volume 0 first, but then battle starts, so it fades in the drums, and you can do interactive stuff like that. So that's like the technical thing that you can't really do with your own music. Of course, live you could do that. But yeah, then of course there's the feedback thing with teams. when I release my solo stuff, I don't really display that to anybody. I just listen to it myself. But and with video game music, you of course have to do demos and try to find the kind of the right path for the music with the team. But I guess that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it's just music.
I guess when you're doing stuff for other people, it's a lot longer process because there's a lot of back and forth and sort of, what about this bit? Can you tweak this? Can this fit here? Can you shorten it, lengthen it, etc.?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's the technical stuff, but also like personal or solo albums or music can take a long time if you're not if you can't find the right, production style or something.
What do you prefer?
I guess the dream would be to make music for my own game, because then I am the client, so I can do whatever I want, but also I can do in this kind of the spec of the project.
Yeah.
Because it's really fun to try to, bring other people's worlds alive with my visions for video games, for example. And it's sometimes very lonely to do albums, like solo albums, because you're just yourself. So yeah, I guess I guess it would be lonely if I was just working on a video game myself. But
I don't know. There's something to be said for being left alone to get on with things sometimes. I've got 3 kids, so I'd love to be left alone for long enough to even get a song recorded.
Oh yeah, and I'm the type that I really, if I work with other people, there's so much pressure from like delivering stuff, even in a band or whatever. But like, especially I guess with band, like why I'm not in a band right now and haven't been in like 15 years or 10 years is because I don't want to be the asshole. So there's a lot of pressure from the other bandmates, even if they don't mean it that way. That's just like my like what happens in my head and heart. Right? Like that's why I've been kind of moving into this lone wolf kind of thing all the time.
No, I get that. So you don't have any yearning to be in a band again at the moment?
Some, yeah. It goes in waves, and especially springtime in Finland, because it gets warm, I get like very, very inspired. So that like I've been thinking about a lot about getting back into the band stuff, but then I just need to find the right kind of making songs and rehearsing them, because just imagining making even 3 people or 4 people and trying to fit the schedules is like I can't do it right now.
No, that's something we have an issue with. So I formed a duo, which I thought was going to be much easier.
Yeah.
But, it turns out it isn't.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just and just hats off to everybody who does it. But like I personally don't have the energy for that right now.
Yeah. So moving on to live shows, you've got a hell of a presence on stage when I've seen you. I think you really enjoy being on stage and interacting with an audience.
Yes.
But you don't do very much of it anymore.
Yeah, I guess so. I love to be on stage, but maybe that's kind of the same thing as the band stuff, is that there's so much organizing to make that happen, especially like if you're doing tours or something. And I don't really have that kind of people around me that could maybe organize that for me. And I don't have the energy to kind of get into that. I guess I'm just not prioritizing live shows that much. But then when, some friend or someone asks me to play somewhere, I'm like usually like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah, I would love to do more lives, but also like tours. I don't know. Like it sounds a lot.
But the odd gig here and there's a good thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. You've played in Japan, haven't you? How are the audience over there?
Oh, it depends, of course. Like it was years ago, but I played at kind of the indie game festival there. Beat Summit it's called. It's in Kyoto. And I played there on a stage, like at the convention with all the like tables with people showing video games and stuff. So that was kind of weird, like just kind of a showcase of like my work. Very short set, like maybe 20 minutes or something. But then my friend organized a party in a tiny club underground somewhere in Kyoto, and that happened to be on the same week, so I got to play there. It was like very tiny, how you could imagine like an underground tiny club in Japan, and like packed with people, and it was so fun. And I think they were like really into that show, like because of the I'm the type, like, even if I do DJ shows, that was like a DJ kind of live set. But even then, I love to like put a song on and then go to the dance floor and dance with people and stuff. And they were like just shaking their heads, like, "What is happening? Like, who is this?"
The night you played the gig I had organised, I think it was. Although you played in the dance room, there had been an album release for a metal band earlier that night, and everybody came through. And I've never seen such a bunch of metalheads dancing to electronic music until that night. It was amazing.
Nice. I can't remember much. It's been so long.
Probably about 8 or 9 years ago. It was a while. Yeah. So do you prefer writing, recording, or playing, and why?
Because I do electronic music, it's like a lot of the writing and recording is kind of the same process for me. Even like mixing and stuff happens like at the same time. If I would say like maybe writing is like just a tiny bit over recording, and then if the material is good, then I want to do lives.
Yeah, I guess because you've moved through so many styles in the last few years, you can pretty much cater a show to any audience if you get asked.
Oh yeah, I can't stop. I can't like like it's always like something just like clicks in my head, and then it's this music, and then it's this stuff. Yeah, I love to make all kinds of music.
So if you were asked to do a live show next week, just as a sort of example, would you put together the set list first, or would you just take your stuff and see what the audience move to?
Usually when I do DJ shows, which is like the easiest way to do that, is that I would kind of like gather tracks from me and other people also that fits the vibe that I want to go with. I usually have like kind of like not really a theme, but kind of the vibe that I want to do. Like this time it's a bit slower, kind of disco-ish stuff, or sometimes it's like harder, like hardcore techno stuff, or like very melodic or no melodies at all, or like that kind of techno. And usually that's that kind of like, okay, I hear it's this kind of event and I want to do this kind of stuff, so maybe I'll try to like kind of fit these two together. And like if it's an outside festival, then I would probably play more like melodic dance tunes. But if it was like underground club, I would play very non-melodic stuff. But yeah, I would kind of put like a list of songs that I would love to play, and kind of usually I have the kind of, okay, I'm gonna start with this, but then while on stage I would like look at people like, okay, like they are really into this, so I'm gonna play more of this style, and kind of have a selection, digital vinyl selection.
So you've gone through many changes of style since I've known you, as we've just said. Was that planned, or have you just gone with the flow and the feeling?
Gone with the flow, definitely. Like I try to always go with the gut feeling.
And how do you think, not necessarily in style, but in the way you do it, how has your music evolved from when you started doing this to now?
I guess it's like, especially the production, but also writing kind of gotten more sophisticated, I guess. And I'm sure there's these things that happens again and again in the music. So it can kind of like, people can kind of hear that, okay, even if this is like metal music, it's probably made by Jukio, because it has these like vibes. So hopefully there's something like that. Like, I guess it's just become more sophisticated in the way that how I do, hi-hats. Because at the beginning it was just doing, especially with Kozilek stuff, it was just like doing everything hard. Like just play hard, compress hard, everything is just hard. And now it's more like I have more technique in that production, and of course writing too.
So how about the name changes? Kozilek, Kuabi, and now your own name. Why?
Oh yeah. Kozilek was because, like, I was telling about like how I started as a joke, like almost as a joke when I started making electronic music. And that was like one thing that I wanted to do. Like when I made the first electronic track, I was like, okay, I want to play this live somewhere, and I want to make more music so I can play a set. And one of the first things, like first kind of places that I imagine I could play was Ropekon, which is this role-playing convention in Helsinki. And they have this night party thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to go play there. I never got to play there, but it just like it was so much fun to make the electronic music, I just continued. But because of that role-playing kind of context, and there's of course card games, tabletops, and stuff like that. So I just chose a name from Magic the Gathering. There's this monster called Kozilek, and I was like, oh yeah, that's it. I'm just gonna take this name, and it wasn't really thought out or anything. It was just like, okay, this is a cool name. But then at some point, like I released a lot of music with that name, and then there was some kind of like there was another electronic artist that started using that name. And I was like, oh, I don't want to fight about this. I tried to tell them like, okay, I've been doing this for years. So if you could change your name, because like all the Spotify things and Bandcamps and stuff were getting messed up. But then I was like, okay, they didn't reply or anything. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to fight about this. I'm going to just, and I was also musically going through this like solo music in my solo music. I was going through this kind of change, like is this kind of like electro what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then I came up with more original name Kuabi at that point, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna change to this and made an announcement and everything. Like it was supposed to be a big thing, but then like I don't think it was even a year or maybe 2 years, and then I realized like, oh, this is such a specific name for the specific thing in my mind that I don't want to do this kind of music for the rest of my life again. Like I was in the same loop as with Kozilek name. And then I was like, okay, I'm anyway releasing my game music under my own name at that point. So I was like I don't have to keep different social medias, different Bandcamp names, playlists, or artist pages. And I just started putting everything under my name, and it was a good decision. Like sometimes some music that I make that could like, I think like maybe this could use a different name, but then I'm like, nah, it's just too much organizing. Like I just put it under my name.
Is it almost like you now feel comfortable as an artist enough to put your name to it in a way?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I guess it's not really a question of if I'm being comfortable, or if I need to like hide behind some name or something, but more about it's just easy to put it out under my name. And also like, I guess like when I made that decision, one of the big question was like, oh, like people are going to listen to the latest tracks and they will never find any of the other music under my name because they just listen to the popular stuff first. And they like, it was a big stress for like, how will fans find the music that they could like in my catalog? Because it's such a huge, huge catalog now. But yeah, it was a big stress before deciding to change to just Jukio Kallio. But over the years, after starting to use only that name, it's bigger realization that I don't need to stress about that. Like, I just need to make music, and fans will find it if they find it. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. If people want to delve deeper, they can, and it's all there.
Exactly.
How do you feel about social media? You're not prolific on social media, but you use Instagram a fair amount.
Oh yeah, not anymore. I was way addicted to, Twitter and everything. I was trying to do that like very well, kind of. Of course, like with a not like a professional company or anything like that, but like I was on Twitter all the time. And then when Fall Guys, the game really blew up, the attention there just became too big, and I just had to like stop it. And after that, like after stopping that, like just deleting it from my phone and just, nowadays I have I only check social media on my laptop at the studio in the browser, and also I have like a plugin that limits it to like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and it's done so much good. Like it's so hard to kind of imagine what I was thinking back then, like just being on social, like I thought it was so important, and I guess in some ways it can be, but like you can do it so much healthier. And yeah, I'm glad I'm kind of out of it.
Yeah, it can become incredibly overwhelming if it takes over from what you're actually meant to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm more and more anti-social media now. Like a lot of times, I remember there was a long stretch of me coming up with some joke or something, and I was like, usually I always posted it on Twitter because that was where like everybody would hear it. But then I realized like maybe I should just post this to a few of my friends. And then that became it's easier to do jokes in a smaller group because the context is known. And I'm like, even like, online sarcasm, like people doing sarcastic comments or something. It's so like, because it's so out of context. It's just like, it doesn't work. Like, don't be sarcastic on social media, please.
So did you cut down your social media use before or after COVID?
After COVID, definitely, because Fall Guys kind of came out like right when COVID started, and then that blew up, and then I started like doing it less and less and less and less, and now like 5 years later, I do very little of that.
I got very frustrated with Keyboard Warriors. I dumped all social media for about 8 or 9 months because I just couldn't be bothered with people's narrow-minded and lack of understanding attitudes.
Yeah, and like a single human being is not made for this kind of information stream. Like, it's just, we need to, in my opinion, we need to kind of look at our surroundings, just like our families and our city and then country, and then like start seeing more. But like social media makes you believe that like I need to care about Donald Trump or whatever. Like, I need to care about that. In reality, I don't need to care about that. I need to care about the people around me.
I've had the discussion with a few other bands that, do you think artists should, if they've got a label, even if it's a minor label, should they have people taking care of their social media so they don't have to think about it?
If they can, I would recommend that, because at least in my case, like, I was so addicted to social media that I, like, not even addicted, it was just part of my life. Like, it was just, that's it. Like, it definitely took a lot of the creative energy out of me. Like a lot of times, if I was, as a hobby, I make also video games, but like, usually I get an idea and then I start making it's becoming something like a showable thing, and I'm like, oh, super excited about working on it, and then I show a video of it on Twitter or whatever, and then like it gets a lot of likes and retweets, and I'm like, oh, I'm done with the project now. Like it gives you this signal of satisfaction, and then I stop working on the project, and that's very unhealthy, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that partly contributed to your burnout?
Most definitely, that's part of it.
Yeah. Do you ever consider artists like yourself in the game music genre to be overlooked to a certain degree when it comes to being considered a proper musician, as it were?
Sometimes I guess there can be that way, but usually, at least when I talk to people face to face, they're like, "Oh wow, video game music, like that's cool." I rent the studio in Herttoniemi, and there's there's like 4 studios here, and one is mine, and then there's other people that are more like pop producers or, you know, like movie and series composers and stuff like that. But they're always like, oh wow, I like video game music, that's interesting. So yeah, I don't know, at some point it kind of felt like video game music is not regarded as real music, kind of, but like, I don't know, maybe I'm just in a bubble that hides that one.
From what you've said, I mean, you've had quite an organic development in your style and things. Do you think to a certain degree you've been lucky to be in the right place at the right time and meet the right people?
Oh, for sure. This is mostly luck. I think I'm a good composer, and I think I'm good, like, hardworking person, like a teammate, but mostly like I couldn't do this without being very lucky with knowing the right people, and like, oh, it's all about luck.
Yeah. On to the more general questions, which I've asked everybody for these interviews. What are your thoughts on what I have deemed is the instant fame machine? So TV shows such as X Factor and Idols and things like this.
I don't know much about that. I guess there's so many, like, even social media can be like that. Like, they are just a different, kind of just adjacent to what music I make, kind of. Like, they are kind of about music, and then, you know, social media stars that kind of do just short Instagram reels or whatever, and they don't really release music. That's also like, they make music, X Factor or Idols, whatever. They also sing and they might release music, but it's very, I guess, in a similar way that major artists, they do music, I do music, but like why or how or whatever, it's very different. Like, kind of the pipe is very different.
So what about if there was an X Factor style show for electronic musicians?
I would watch it. It could be fun, but like, yeah.
It's just popped into my head. Maybe that's my next business idea.
Yeah, sure. Like, what I've heard, just rumors, but like a lot of the contracts with, idols and stuff is very bad for the artists. So it's more about the TV and more about the producers and the TV producers and the people, the labels that are connected to that. Like, it's more about that. And I guess you could go show off your singing skills, but if you actually want to make music, then you should just do it independent.
Well, what I've discussed with most people about this is the fact that the winners generally don't have a career, but the people who come a bit further down seem to actually have longevity.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've seen that, like, have the same kind of vibe from that. Who actually wins kind of gets stuck into this contract hell. But yeah, I don't know. It's all business. It's like it's more about business than the music.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You touched on this earlier. What is the best advice you could give to somebody who wants to start making electronic music?
Get into the shit. Just download some program and start doing it. Like, learning an instrument is good. It's a tool for you to do more, but like, just try different software. Like, for me, I tried Fruity Loops back in the day. I tried Cubase or whatever, and like, they didn't really work for me. But then I just persisted, and at some point I found the proper reason, and then after that Ableton Live, and those just worked for me. Like, most of those major programs are like, you can do whatever with them. It's just the preference, like what works for you. But yeah, just get into it and listen to your favorite track and try to analyze how it works. Like, how does the kick sound? And first thing you need to learn probably is how to actually like listen to just the kick. So listen to a lot of music, like analyze it.
Do you believe that independent music is in a good place at the moment?
Compared to what? I'm not sure. Like,
well, I mean, maybe compared to 20 years ago, for example.
The internet is like what? Like, I wouldn't be composer, and I wouldn't be probably like living off of this if it wasn't for internet. So that's definitely better with Bandcamp and all these essentially free distribution companies that just puts your music on Spotify and whatever. That makes it like super easy for you to just release music, as long as you don't stress about becoming big.
Yeah, because as long as your expectations aren't too high, you'll be all right.
because like the thing is, like, why do you make music? Do you make music because you want to get big? Like, then maybe get on the stage of X Factor. But like if you love making music, then it shouldn't be about the listen numbers.
I make music because I want everyone to be as depressed as I am.
yeah, sometimes, yeah. Like that's still a question that I ask myself. Like, I'm trying to analyze why. Like, yeah, I know why I want to make music, world building wise, but like a lot of literature, I think, says that we make music because we want to connect to people, and I want to believe that, but I'm not sure. In my personal experience, like, if that's true, like, I'm still trying to analyze. Probably it is, but I need to actually get down to it and understand it deeply before I can say that. Yeah, I think it's way easier to release independent music now than 20 years ago, because you can just get like a cheap laptop and start making it.
Yeah. What has been the most rewarding part of making music for you?
I guess, well, of course, when we are in the middle of a video game project and the team on the other side is like very happy with what I do, and I'm very happy with what I do. For example, when we were working on a game called Bleed 2, that was like such a blast to work on it, because I was just like making music super fast because it was exactly what I wanted to do then. And then Ian on the other side, like essentially the client, was like, yes, this is exactly what I want. And it was so fun to work on it. So that kind of high it's not always that, of course, because it's work, but like when it gets to that. But lately, just in the last few weeks, I've been getting such a high from programming my own synthesizer and like light digital audio workstation, like I've started, because I've been making games for a long time as a hobby. I'd realized like the thing I'm using right now to make games, it can also manipulate the actual, sound buffer on computer, like actual samples, like 48,000 times a second. And I started diving deep into that. And now, actually, right before we started this interview, I was programming my own kind of this sound generating machine, and like figuring out the math, how filters work, and figuring out how to do wavetables and play those in different pitches and stuff. That's been like such a high, because I love programming, I love making music, I love making sounds, I love making systems and worlds, but system programming is so much fun. And that combined into the music and the audio, and I was like, oh god, here's the completely new world that I'm diving into. Like, for the last few weeks, I've been just like very into deep end. I have so many Wikipedia pages of like Fourier transformations and like math problems that are like something about sound generation, not even sound generation, like how to calculate some radiation wavelengths is already like, it already kind of helps me in the synth programming thing.
Yeah, you mentioned maths there. Do you find electronic music there is quite a lot of maths to think about in terms of the way you construct?
You don't have to, but for like, I guess for me, I love the jam music, like with bands. But when I work on tracks on my computer, just producing stuff solo or for video game projects, I tend to think it in very kind of structural way, like kind of these are modules of there's modules of audio, modules of this and this, and and that becomes parts, and it's like almost like putting together a program for me. So that's like kind of close to how I actually program video games too. And there is that, but it doesn't have to be that. But like, to me, just having that grid in front of you and having those blocks of sound or drums, and yeah, it can be thought like that. And actually the thing that I'm programming now, I don't know if it becomes usable for me at any point, but it's just so much fun to deep dive into that. But like, I'm not trying to replicate Ableton Live for me. I'm trying to kind of make something that I can make music, but it's very different from Ableton Live. So it's very much inspired by modular synths, which is just electronic currents that are oscillating stuff, and you can put anything into anything, and like it will start changing the sound. And it's more like that, but also with the kind of modular block kind of timeline idea. And I don't know where it's going, or if it's going to be that in the next 2 days. But like, yeah, you don't need math, but you could use your math skills there.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very into what you're doing at the moment, which is exciting.
Yeah, I'm not good at math, but like copy pasting stuff online and kind of understanding, okay, this equation does this, it's enough. Like, you don't need to actually have math classes to make music.
Well, you're back to proving how useful the internet is at solving problems nowadays.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Lately, with all the AI shit, it's getting worse, but it's way harder to find anything on Google or anything. But in Wikipedia, it's still good.
It depends who's been playing with it this week.
Yeah.
So you've just released IS. What are you currently up to alongside it? Have you got any shows coming up to promote it, or are you just sort of sitting back and seeing what happens at the moment?
Yeah, no shows right now. But I've been making a bit slower, but the same kind of electronic music, kind of wonky stuff more. So probably there's going to be like an EP or album at some point, more of that. But also, before that, I was working on this, and still am, I just haven't had time, but I'm working on this horror ambient album, like inspired by Silent Hill and those kind of horror games. And yeah, that's super interesting, like to make horror music without any text or visuals. It's very hard because it's hard to make, scare. Like, you can make odd music and you can make jump scares musically, but you can't. It's hard to make a vibe that's actually scary for without any context. But that's kind of because my one game project that I really want to make somewhere in the future if anyone is making horror game, please contact me, because I want to make horror game soundtrack, because there's no client like that for me right now. I'm working on my own kind of a showcase of like what I imagine a horror game could sound like. So that's hopefully coming out somewhere this year. Otherwise, I'm programming my synth. That's probably coming out never. And yeah, I will get inspired by something else in the next few months and start working on that. But no definite plans. Working on some actual like video game stuff with clients. So, but that's gonna be like year or two off.
So how can people find out more about you and your music? Where are you on the web?
Definitely my website, jukiokallio.com. That's like, I try to keep that updated with the latest projects. But yeah, then I'm using Blue Sky more now. Twitter is just like, I just dump ads there, like my music ads. Like
we've all migrated over to Blue Sky now, I think.
Yeah, it's becoming more lively. And if I show off, like programming stuff or something, like not exactly music stuff, then I usually post it on Blue Sky. I've been trying to put more YouTube shorts, like very low effort, just recording in my studio, just like videos of me working on music and putting them on YouTube shorts. So you could follow me on YouTube, Jukio Kallio there. And I guess that's it. Bandcamp. Follow me on Bandcamp, jukiokallio.bandcamp.com. I release all my music there, so you get a notification whenever I get music. Like if you just want to hear about new music without anything else, the Bandcamp is the best place.
Perfect. Well, I've asked you all the questions I had, and you've answered them sufficiently.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated.
Thanks for the interview.
I'll pop some links in the bio when this comes out.
Awesome.